First up, for the last 14 years, Venezuela has been led by one of the world's more flamboyant and controversial presidents. Hugo Chavez, a former paratrooper, was riding a popular wave of discontent against corruption and inequality in the oil-rich nation. As leader, he changed the Venezuelan constitution to make it more inclusive. He is widely seen as the undisputed champion of the poor in Latin America. This October, he stands for re-election again. Mr. Chavez's re-election plans have been complicated by his own health issues. For more than a year, he's been receiving treatment for cancer. This past week, Chavez proclaimed he is completely cancer-free. Doctors from around the world quickly disputed that, saying it would be impossible to know something so definitive so quickly after treatment. America's Now correspondent Stephen Gibbs was in Venezuela for President Chavez's official campaign launch. He files this exclusive report from Caracas.
On the road to the place where some say the Venezuelan revolution began, to see the man that leads it. This is Maracay, a city with close military links and around 1 million residents. It was here that Hugo Chavez, as a young soldier, says he became convinced that his destiny was to bring about change in this country.
¡Viva Chávez! Misión viva presente con mi comandante.
Today, his supporters, who loyally call themselves Chavistas, are here to witness him launch another presidential campaign.
Pa'lante, comandante, pa'lante. Vamos, o comer en la costera la presidente contigo.
For many of them, Hugo Chavez is the only president they've ever known, and the only president to have given them a voice.
¡Pa'lante! ¡Pa'lante! ¡Pa'lante, comandante! ¡Son 10! ¡Son 10! ¡Son 10 millones! ¡Son 10!
He is credited with almost divine powers by his followers. They will know by now that punctuality is not one of his gifts. Some have been waiting in the tropical sun for over 6 hours. After 13 years of President Chavez, his supporters here insist that the revolution is just beginning. But the question remains of how much does all this depend on one man? For the last year, the president has been battling cancer. He says that's all behind him. The look and the sound is of a man reborn. Do these people think it's all about one man?
No, por el pueblo, solamente él. No, él es la referencia, él es el guía de un pueblo que es consciente, que despertó para no volver a declinar.
Y el comandante Hugo Chávez está completamente sano en sus cabales sentidos mentales para dirigir esta patria. Es el candidato de la patria. ¡Viva
En Maracay, yo no puedo decir, se engendró la revolución bolivariana y aquí fue parida el 4 de febrero de 1992. ¿Cómo no amar a Maracay?
It was on February the 4th, 1992, that the young paratrooper first came to the attention of millions of Venezuelans. He led what turned out to be an unsuccessful coup against an unpopular president. That night, the government he tried to topple made a fateful decision. In exchange for surrender, the authorities allowed Commander Chavez 45 seconds airtime on national television.
Lamentablemente, por ahora, los objetivos que nos planteamos no fueron logrados en la ciudad capital. Es decir, nosotros acá en Caracas no logramos controlar el poder.
Inadvertently, they created a hero.
Ya es tiempo de evitar más derramamiento de sangre, ya es tiempo de reflexionar y vendrán nuevas situaciones y el país tiene que enrumbarse definitivamente hacia un destino mejor.
Within 7 years, he was president. One of his first acts was to rename the country the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, after his idol, independence hero Simón Bolívar. He's also successfully amended the country's constitution, removing all limits on presidential terms in office. Today, the story of a soldier who became a president is carefully etched on the minds of people here. Hugo Chavez, who's distinctly nostalgic about his army days, tends to use his military title, Comandante. The Venezuelan army, here celebrating Independence Day, has become an integral part of the president's political movement, as the director of the celebrations, General Vladimir Padrino, explained to us.
Ciertamente la Fuerza Armada tiene un nuevo pensamiento, el pensamiento militar bolivariano, y tiene una nueva concepción doctrinaria de cómo hacer la guerra, que obedece al concepto de la guerra popular prolongada. Y bueno, y por eso ustedes van a ver a más de 4.000 compatriotas representando al poder popular.
Mi izquierda, 1.
Unity, devotion, discipline, those are the qualities the president demands from his followers.
Cambio.
But there are those for whom all this is alarming. Ismael Garcia was a loyal companion of Hugo Chavez from the early days, but in 2007 he turned against his colleague, accusing him of trampling on the Constitution. He is now a vocal political opponent.
Pero en definitiva, Chávez es un personaje autoritario, personalista, que solo persigue la concentración del poder en él y mantenerse en el poder a costa de lo que sea. No le importa absolutamente nada lo que tenga que hacer para mantenerse en el poder. Porque como él cree que él es la redención de la humanidad, manteniéndose en el poder, los problemas de la gente se van a resolver. Porque Chávez, cuando está hablando, pareciera que uno vive en el país de las maravillas. Para mí Chávez es dos cosas. Para mí este gobierno es dos cosas. Para mí lo que ha ocurrido en estos últimos 13 años, yo lo descifro en dos palabras nada más, en dos. Es una estafa histórica.
You're giving a very negative image of a man who you closely supported for several years. Does that reflect an error of judgment on your part?
Cualquiera, pues, uno se casa en la vida apostando sueños.
Hugo Chavez is often described as a polarizing figure, a man that some love and others loathe. After a few hours on the streets of Caracas, you will likely see the two opposites. We came across anti-Chavista students and workers protesting that in a country where inflation is approaching 25%, salaries have been frozen for months. They're trying to reach the National Assembly building. The police block them. Then a standoff begins. Behind them, pro-government Chavistas gather. At first it seems innocent taunting, but the hostilities quickly escalate. There are fears there could be much more of this as October's presidential elections approach. Hugo Chavez has a huge election machine behind him and is well ahead of his rival Henrique Capriles in most polls. His supporters point to social security programs like this one as the key to his popularity. Here, in a project funded by the state oil company PDVSA, workers make T-shirts and overalls for the government in regulation revolutionary red and receive generous benefits. Manager Mirta Molina, who describes herself as a Chavista inside and out, says working here is not like working for a private company.
Bueno, sí, esta empresa de textil es diferente porque el trabajador o la persona que hace vida aquí tiene unos beneficios muy buenos y tiene un trato diferente. No tenemos, por ejemplo, en la empresa privada, se trabaja con una tarea diaria o a lo mejor con un monto específico que la persona debe sacar en el día. Aquí, a pesar de que nosotros sabemos cuál es nuestra responsabilidad, hay un trabajo que sacar y lo hacemos conscientemente.
Employees like Brunilda Morales say that this country has changed for good.
Venezuela cambió para siempre. Sí. Yo creo que por lo menos, creo no, yo digo que ya por lo menos ya nosotros abrimos los ojos ya. Ya no somos los mismos de anteriormente, que uno tenía que hacer lo que los demás presidentes dijeran y todos los gobernantes, no, ya no. Ya por lo menos la decisión la tomamos nosotros.
But there are plenty of problems that Mr. Chavez has not solved in this oil-rich nation. Chief amongst those is crime. The country's murder rate is now the highest in Latin America, 3 times that of Mexico. Daily security fears are making life and business increasingly difficult. José Luis Tirado is the son of a communist and nephew of a murdered Venezuelan revolutionary.
En un principio entendimos que el presidente Chávez, por venir de las fuerzas militares, por ser un militar de carrera, mucha gente pensó que uno de los problemas a la cual él se iba a poner de primer orden era el problema de la inseguridad, iba a combatir los niveles que ya eran altos en Venezuela de criminalidad. Pues no, lamentablemente no ha ocurrido así. Los índices de criminalidad exponencialmente se han subido. La gente cada vez se siente más insegura. Los venezolanos no quieren más confrontación. Los venezolanos no quieren más pelea, no quieren más odio, no quieren más resentimiento. Y pienso que tomando eso como columna vertebral pueden venir los cambios a este país y podemos ir de cara al futuro a un gran país.
Hugo Chavez says that those that want unity and a better future should vote for him. He's also said he'd like to be president for decades to come. And it looks like he might mean it.
Gracias, pueblo mío. Aquí está Chávez de nuevo, junto al pueblo, para conducirlo en otra jornada y en otra victoria.